and welcome to this new episode of Decoding Diaspora, a podcast that delves deep into our migrants and diaspora's thought processes, dreams, their aspirations, what their everyday challenges are, and how they find the resilience to handle them. Today, I am absolutely delighted to be in conversation with my dear friend and ex-colleague, Chandra Shekher. Chandra Shekher is visiting me in Copenhagen, and we have had this opportunity to sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and have this chat for this podcast. So welcome, Chandra Shekher.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. I am extremely happy. And the background is so beautiful.
Yeah. It's Christmas time and we're making the most of it. Well, Chandra Shekher is a man of many talents and wears many hats. Chandra, you have been traveling abroad and you've been studying and working abroad in several places, including the US, UK, and also Hungary in Europe. So today you're visiting here in Copenhagen and you have a new line of work. We're going to touch upon all of that. First and foremost, Chandra, when did you go abroad and what took you abroad?
First time I went abroad when I was in my early 30s.
Okay.
And I always imagined when I was a child that one day I will travel around the world.
Yeah.
But I was not very desperate about it. I wanted to go, but then as a child, that desire was strong. But then when I was in my early 20s, then I started working. So it went, I would say into my subconscious mind, okay, from the conscious one. But I always had this idea and I wanted to go abroad to learn something and come back and use that knowledge for the benefit of my society. That was an idea. So first time I went abroad was to United Kingdom in my early 30s. I got a Commonwealth scholarship to study documentary filmmaking.
Okay.
So that is how my journey started.
Right. And how did you go about applying for the scholarship? How did you even learn of the scholarship? What was the process like for you?
I came across this opportunity through a notice, which was on my organization's notice board, that this scholarship is available and you can apply for it. And I applied for it and I already started visualizing myself in United Kingdom.
And so when you said organization? What do you mean, my organization?
I was working with a television channel,
right,
which is Lok Sabha TV. Now it has changed. It is called Sunset TV now.
Right.
So here I'm talking about 2008.
Yeah.
And so this notice was on the notice board of Lok Sabha television, and you've also worked there,
exactly.
So you know about
we were
it.
colleagues there.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you started visualizing and you knew that this is something you wanted to pursue, what was the application process like? How did you go about it? Did you seek help? Take us through that moment of exploration, and it was your first time.
Yes, I took help from one of my former colleagues.
Yeah.
Who was with Television Today, and then she worked with BBC also.
Okay.
And she had been on this program 1 year before, but she was a different organization, but she had worked with me at Star News. So I approached her.
Right.
And I asked her how to do this application.
Yeah.
She helped me with the motivation letter, and I'm very thankful to her for this help.
Yeah.
Because without her help and support, I would not have gotten this scholarship.
Yeah.
So she helped me. And then there were a lot of challenges also during the application process. For example, my application did not arrive in London before the deadline.
Okay.
And so I asked one of my friends who was living in London to go to the office of Commonwealth Broadcasting Association and persuade them that Chandra Shekher has already sent his application, and I had dispatched it through speed post. So it was stuck somewhere. And I was also making international calls to this organization in London.
Yeah.
So I wanted it at any cost.
Right.
Yeah.
And then did they heed all this persuasion? Did it help?
They did, because they understood that I am interested and I had sent the application well in time. although there were issues, with the customs in UK, so they accepted, and finally they got the application.
Right.
Yeah.
And then from getting the application to making the cut, how did that go? Is there any tips that we should know about when we apply? Is it a straightforward journey?
See, I think there are scholarships, and different countries offer scholarships.
Yes.
For many countries, it's a way of diplomacy.
Yes.
So there are many opportunities, and in my case, I think the competition was not very tough in 2008.
Okay.
Now the competition for scholarship is much tougher.
Yeah.
And I applied for it, and I got it, but then there were last minute hiccups because the organization which I was working for, they said that you cannot go. But I was after it.
Yes.
I said, come what may,
Yeah.
I have to go because this is something which I imagined.
Yeah.
And even when they told me that you cannot go, I was persuading the sponsoring organization in UK
Yeah.
that I will come. I will persuade my organization in India. And they gave me some time. But finally they said, you've taken too long. And now we have to pass on this scholarship to someone because we cannot let this funding go.
Okay.
Okay, because we have to use it. Otherwise, next year we will not get funding.
So they were passing on a scholarship that was
Given to me to someone.
actually given to you, but it was just going away from you then.
Yeah,
Okay.
because my organization did not respond to them.
Okay.
In fact, my organization wrote to them that they cannot spare me for the scholarship.
Right.
And one of the criteria for scholarship was that it should be nominated. Okay.
Yeah.
So they nominated me, but then they decided to withdraw my nomination. But
what
somehow,
a pickle you were in.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And somehow, I wanted it. So I wrote to this organization and I persuaded my organization in India. And even when it was no from both the sides, I quietly decided to apply for visa.
Wow.
And
So there was no scholarship in the picture.
Yeah.
It came and went,
Yeah.
but you decided I'm going to apply for a visa anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
I arranged the documents because I had a scholarship letter.
Yeah.
So I arranged it, and then I applied for visa. I also asked my boss because there were a lot of if and buts. And then I applied for the visa, and I got the visa. So I was preparing. Even when it was dark,
Yeah.
I could see the light across the tunnel. And I always say that you should prepare for success.
Yeah.
So what happened on Monday, I applied for visa, and on Friday I got my visa, and I got a call also that the scholarship was passed to someone from Nigeria, and the person could not, his visa has been refused.
Okay.
So if you want, we can accommodate you. And I had visa.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's the stroke of luck that
Yeah.
one should be, prepared for.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
you had a visa, the other person did not have a visa while they had the scholarship.
Yeah.
So in quite a roundabout way, finally the scholarship landed at
Yes. I had similar experiences.
you. Yeah.
So I think, and I always tell it to youngsters or everyone, you should be prepared for success.
You should be prepared for success.
Yeah.
That's very well put. Yeah. And so you were.
Yes, I was.
That's amazing. Now, this was the first experience of going abroad. Where did you grow up? And while you were growing up, you said you had this idea that you wanted to see the world. Who planted that seed and what was growing up like?
I grew up in Delhi.
Okay.
And I would say my father planted this idea because I grew up reading biographies of Buddha and Guru Nanak. For example, Guru Nanak went to Baghdad. Now imagine,
Okay.
traveling to Baghdad 400, 500 years ago on foot. So I imagined that all these great people traveled because they were seeking something which is not a regular thing. And if you want to learn something, you have to travel. So I grew up with this idea of being a wanderer or being a seeker.
Yeah.
So that motivated me. So I would credit my father. although my father did not travel much,
Yeah.
I kept on persuading him,
Yeah.
but he never traveled.
Yeah.
But he was the one who planted this seed of, traveling, exploring in my
Yeah,
mind.
and you had this curiosity in
Yeah.
you. Coming back to the scholarship, what did the scholarship offer you? Was it full tuition? How long was this scholarship? And you mentioned it was for documentary filmmaking.
Yeah, it was for documentary filmmaking.
So I find that fascinating. I would have pursued that scholarship if I had known of it, because I would love to make documentaries myself. Tell us more about it. What was the duration like, and how much was the funding?
Duration was like, 3.5 months.
Okay.
And it was fully funded. I did not have to pay any tuition. My accommodation was taken care, and I was getting a very decent amount of money. Can you imagine? I used to travel by taxi in London,
Yeah.
and London is known for having expensive taxis,
Yeah.
and everything was reimbursed.
Yeah.
So I had a good life, and back in India, my organization was paying me monthly salary also.
Yeah.
So everything was taken care.
Great. And you were in a sweet spot where you had a salary and you had a well-funded scholarship, so you didn't have to work to make ends
Yeah,
meet,
yeah.
and everything was comfortable
Yeah.
in that period.
Yeah.
I remember you made a documentary around that time. What was that documentary called? And it had to do with migrants' lives. Could you remind me more about?
Yeah, the documentary was commissioned by Channel 4.
Okay.
And Channel 4 in UK, there are two public service broadcasters.
Yeah.
One is BBC, the other one is Channel 4.
Yeah.
And it was commissioned by Channel 4. And the production company which helped me in producing this, in directing this film is Tiger Aspect, which made Mr. Bean. So it was a wonderful experience. And the story is based on my personal experience, because when I went to UK for the first time, I was seeking comfort in the Indian community, and I was very happy to see someone who looked like an Indian. But after some time, I felt I did not come all the way to England to see Indians.
Yeah.
Because when I was in school, there was a lot of English poetry, Shelley, Wordsworth. And I remember when my poetry teacher used to recite those poems, I used to imagine myself in England. I used to close my eyes and I used to visualize that there are beautiful flowers and everything is green and everything is beautiful.
Yeah.
So the film is about what I was seeking comfort in, and what I used to visualize as a primary school student. So it is about seeking comfort and my perception of Britain.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing it some time ago, and it was really well made. And I think I will share that documentary and put down the link so that more people can watch it. It was really fascinating how you viewed Britain upon landing there for the first time. And what was the name of it again?
Never Left Home.
Never Left Home. How lovely is that? Now, having traveled and studied in a variety of countries, you've been to the US, UK, and Europe. You have been on your toes, seeking new learning possibilities. Would you think that would you consider yourself a migrant or a traveler or an explorer? How would you self-define yourself, having looked back at your journey?
I would call myself an explorer and a traveler.
Okay.
Not a migrant, although I motivate people to study abroad or to work abroad.
Yeah.
So in a way, I am prompting them or promoting migration.
Yeah.
But personally, I would rather call myself a traveler or an explorer, not a migrant, because I still make most of my money from India and I only spend it here in Europe or anywhere I go.
And take us through what you do right now when you say you make most of your money in India. I know you're splitting most of your time between Budapest and New Delhi, and you're really one foot here in Hungary and the other in India. What's keeping you busy these days?
So I run my own business. It started as an education consultancy. I started as a recruiter for many universities in Hungary because I got an opportunity to study in Hungary personally.
Yeah.
And I was convinced that it's a great place to study and affordable because US and UK, not many people can afford.
Yeah.
Whereas in Hungary, you can get almost similar quality to UK or US
Yeah.
at 1/4 or 1/3 of the price. And in a country where there is a huge middle class, I think, and they have an aspiration of studying abroad. So I looked at Hungary as a reliable option. And also Hungary has scholarship opportunities. The Hungarian government has one of the biggest scholarship programs. For example, the quota for India is 200 fully funded scholarships
Okay.
for doing a bachelor's, master's, or PhD.
Yeah.
So I initially started as a recruiter, and then I also advise people on investing in Hungary.
But why did you even start as a recruiter? How did that come about? I mean, you were in broadcasting and working as a television producer. Why switch gears?
I mean, after having worked in television for several years, for about 17 years,
Okay.
I decided that I'm not doing something new. I'm not learning something new. So I decided to take a break, and I got a fellowship to go to Hungary in 2017.
What was
And
that fellowship about? And what
I
were you
mean,
studying?
I was offered this fellowship to do masters in international relations.
Okay.
And I was staying in a small town called Kusek, which is on the border of Austria and Hungary.
Yeah.
And I was the only Indian. And it gave me a lot of time to reflect on what I have been doing in my life and what are my goals. And I started writing about my travel experiences and about my scholarship experiences on different social media platforms. And people started approaching me that how I could get a scholarship in US or in UK or in Hungary. And then I realized this could be a good business. I mean, if lawyer can charge for giving advice, or a chartered accountant can charge, or a doctor can charge, I can also charge. So I started charging money
Yeah.
for my advice.
Yeah.
And then I thought it can be a full-time job.
Right.
So I got into this business full-time.
Okay. And since you have started this business, you must be meeting a lot of aspirants who want to go and study abroad, and you are focusing on Hungary alone. What kind of people are you engaging with, or what's the age group like? Is it more women or more men? Which backgrounds do they come from? Are they all Indian? Give us a sense of who wants to go abroad and why are they reaching out to you?
People want to go abroad for multiple reasons. One, economic reasons. Second is also in certain parts of India, if someone from your family is abroad, it gives you a higher status in the society, because people say, oh, his son is in Europe or his son is in US. So that is something which is prestigious.
Yes.
Also, if you are a young man in a marriageable age, so this also increases your price tag in the marriage market.
Well said. It's the truth of it. Yeah. That's probably one of the
and that is
leading
one
reasons.
reason. One is economic reason. I mean, more money.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we only talk about India as the fastest developing economy in the world. It is true. I was reading somewhere, whatever you say is true about India, exactly opposite is also true.
Yes.
So yes, I mean, there are opportunities for people to become rich, and a lot of people have become millionaires or billionaires. I have seen my friends. Having said that, I'm from Delhi. If you go 30 kilometers away from Delhi, for example, to Meerut, you will find people still making 7,000-8,000 rupees a month.
Yeah.
And I'm working in Hungary, which is a Central European country. The wages are low,
Yeah.
but it is higher for someone who still makes 7,000 rupees in India.
Sure. Yeah. So you are meeting only Indians, or who's approaching
I
you?
think we skipped study part.
Yeah.
So study, many people who cannot afford going to US or UK, they approach me.
Okay.
For example, and mainly people from B class cities. For example, Amritsar, Vijayawada,
Okay.
Surat. Because many of them, they do not have $40,000 per annum.
Yeah.
Whereas in Hungary, they can study for $8,000 or $9,000.
Yes.
And they get value for money. And I keep on saying it on my YouTube channel that Hungary is a small country, smaller than Bihar, and the population is 9.8 million, which is lower than many big Indian cities. But then they have produced 12 Nobel Prize winners. And in 2023, the Nobel Prize for medicine and physics went to Hungarians. And then Olympic medals. They won 19 Olympic medals in the Paris Olympics.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think in India, we have a very Anglo-American perspective of the world. We only think that the whole world speaks English and the whole world was colonized by Britain. Okay. I think, especially in a country like India, we need to be more open because we are the biggest country in terms of population, and our young people need opportunities across the world.
And talk about across the world, you stayed in the US, UK, and Hungary. Where did you like living the most? And you are in a position to compare. What was life like that in all those places?
If you ask me, I think I judge a country based on people. So I think I really liked my stay in US because Americans are very open and they accept you if you speak English. What I found very interesting about US is that as long as you speak English, you can speak English with any kind of accent. They will pretend that they accept you as an American.
Okay, they will pretend that they accept you as an American.
yeah. At least they will.
They will try.
Yeah. And sometimes I had to tell them that I'm not from here. I came here a few months ago. They said, okay, but you speak good English. So that is very interesting.
Yeah.
Whereas in India, if we look at people, we'll say, Madrasi aa gaya, Bihari aa gaya.
So you have a pretty pan-global accepting looks. So, the Madrasi will think you are from the south of India. The Gujarati will think you're also Gujarati.
No, not that way. In India, for example, a lot of people ask me that, is there racism in Hungary? I tell them we have more racism in India than anywhere else.
Yeah.
In India, we say, chai peene se kaale ho jate hain.
True.
And
these are things that,
and we don't even realize that it is racism.
Yeah, exactly.
So what I'm trying to tell you is that
what is the problem with, drinking chai and becoming Kale?
Yeah. So within India, there is so much of racism. And why I really liked US is that racism is a non-existent, at least on the surface.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. I understand that, there are different studies and there are problems. But based on
race
my...
is a long drawn
based
issue.
on my personal experience, I did not have any negative, negative... I don't have anything negative to say.
Right, right. And now you see, you are helping people go abroad. You are enabling them in reaching their dreams. And I see increasingly people getting in touch with agents, and I never needed to meet an agent when I left. When I left several years ago, 17 years ago, I knew I had the scholarship. I knew where I had to go. I knew I had to land in Denmark. I knew I needed a Danish visa. And I did the application process myself. So I did not know or encounter of any agents. So for me, this is a pretty unknown territory. Who are these agents? What service are they providing? And why do people care about agents?
See, agents came on the surface because there was a demand. There was a demand for people to go. And one of my African friends did a very interesting research on immigration. So what I attended his presentation. It was in the African context, but I think many of the things which he said are true in India also. He said, those who fail in migrating, they learn from their failures and they become agents. Because they try so many times.
Yeah.
So they start advising people.
Yeah.
That how you can apply. And then it is like, it is like hit and trial.
Yeah.
So they'll make 10 people apply.
Yeah.
And one of them or two of them will be successful.
Yes.
And they will do good publicity about it because.
So what is the agent typically enabling an aspirant with?
Agent can, if we talk about 70 to 80% of the agents in Punjab, Gujarat, or Andhra,
in India,
where there is a big craze to go to the West, they can help you in applying at a university. Then they can also sometimes encourage you to use fake documents.
Okay.
And if you have a missing document, they can also arrange it. I'm talking about 70 to 80% of the agents do that. And for them, it is pretty acceptable if they use wrong documents. And sometimes I have told them they should not do it, but they tell, oh, don't worry. One of my candidates already got his visa.
Okay.
Okay. And the problem is that people are so desperate that they accept it.
Yeah.
Okay. They don't realize that, for example, many in Punjab have this goal of becoming a permanent resident or a citizen of that particular country.
Yeah.
They don't realize that, suppose they get the citizenship, but then somehow the immigration department or, the department which gives citizenship realize that they have used fake document, their citizenship can be revoked.
Right. Yes.
They don't even know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
these agents are guiding as well as misleading people.
I would say misleading most of the times because they are not well educated.
Yes.
Most of them.
Yes.
And they should also understand that immigration is about laws.
True.
It's not about hit and trial.
Yeah.
And many of them cannot even read 10 pages in one go.
Yeah.
So what they are doing, they are, it's like trying to cross a highway with someone who cannot see.
Yeah.
Because they've never studied abroad, they've never worked abroad, most of them. But they're advising you.
Right. And that sounds like a pot boiler, a recipe for trouble, really.
Yeah. And what I always do, I tell since I have a YouTube channel, I always tell my viewers that suppose they are taking services of an agent, they should ask him that whether he has studied abroad or what experience he has, but they don't ask it.
No. Yeah, sure. And now tell me, you mentioned that people are desperate, at least in some pockets of India, to go abroad. And I'm sure this is true for so many parts of the world. People want to better their circumstances. But I want to get deeper into the psyche of let's say, the migrant from particular states in India. Why are they desperate? Because now we are in a time when India is doing so well. India is rapidly developing, progressing. Everybody's looking towards India. India is going strong in many ways. One should think that people are happy being in India and are doing well. So why is this craze to go abroad still?
I think most of the times people are misled, first thing. And second thing, people do not even know why they want to go abroad.
Okay.
They want to go abroad just because their neighbor went.
Right.
Or one of their cousin who's a cleaner, when he comes back with an iPhone and a thick gold chain. So what is happening? The truth is not being told.
Yeah.
The struggles of a migrant are not being told. For example, there was a big craze for Canada. Students used to go and they would get a loan and buy a car and then put it on Instagram. But no one was talking about how many Indian students were committing suicide in Canada.
Right. Yeah.
So what is happening with this immigration thing and with this immigrant thing? People do not talk about the negative aspect, which I think we should talk about. And also here I would like to tell one more thing. What happens? Suppose someone's visa is refused.
Yeah.
And I'll try to tell it in Indian context.
Yeah.
It's like a woman who's about to get married and her marriage is called off all of a sudden.
Okay.
So she is very embarrassed. She does
But
not
why is
want
her
to.
marriage called off?
No, I mean, I'm just giving an example.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So visa refusal, no one
okay.
wants to
Yeah,
talk about
right,
it.
because there's a lot of shame attached to it,
Yeah.
and there is,
Yeah.
how do you face society, because it's a
Yeah.
rejection that you cannot
Although
handle.
it is not your fault.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
But your visa getting rejected is akin to somebody leaving you.
Yeah. It's like a shame.
While it's massive shame.
It's
Yeah.
like a shame. So one, there is lack of awareness. Second, people are migrating for two reasons. One is money. Second is prestige.
Yeah.
I would encourage people to do research, especially in India. There are opportunities in big cities. I always say, for example, Panipat is 150 kilometers from Delhi. So people would not travel from Panipat to Delhi for finding a job, but they will give 10 lakh to an agent to go to Portugal.
Right. Panipat to Portugal without a stopover in New Delhi.
Yes. So what I would encourage
Yes.
people that before going abroad, please get some exposure in one of the bigger cities of India. And I can assure you, if you have patience, there are sufficient opportunities to make money in certain parts of India.
Yeah.
I mean, and don't always look in terms of converting the money, because if you make more money in the West, your expenses are also more.
Exactly. Well said. Yeah. So money and prestige are the two reasons why Indians are seeking to go abroad. Because it's going to offer them that social upward mobility, and they're going to be seen well by their peers, by their society. So those are the two reasons that are the driving force. But a lot of people are also being vulnerable and engaging with agents who are probably misleading them and painting an unreal picture of how rosy it is going abroad, right? That's what the key takeaway is. Is there a right time to go abroad? Is there a right age to go abroad? Should one only be aspiring for this when you're in your early 20s? Should one aspire for this? What if you are in your early 40s or 50s and you've never tried this, but you still want to go and, try moving, migrating, or, even settle down? When is the right time to go? And when you deal with aspirants who approach you, what age group are you handling and helping?
I think it is something which is a personal choice.
Yeah.
So I would not say there should be an age. I mean, I always give an example of the founder of ISKCON, Swami Prabhupada, who started this organization called ISKCON, who chant Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. They are all over the world.
Yeah.
He started this organization when he was more than 60, because he had this belief that this idea should be spread. So I would not say that there is an age, but you should be clear what you want to do. Just don't go abroad or come to Europe, because I am saying do your own research, find your own truth. So there is no age, but you have to know the purpose. There should be clarity on the purpose.
Yeah.
You can be in your teens, you can be 20s, 30s, 40s.
Yes.
But you should know what you're looking at.
Right. So let age not be the determinant, but rather your purpose, and be clear about what is it that you're seeking.
And I would also encourage people, if they can manage, that they should spend some time abroad in learning something new. I used to give presentations at schools, and my first slide had a picture of Gandhi, Subhash Chandra Bose, Patel, and Manmohan Singh.
Yeah.
One similarity between all these leaders was that they were trained or educated abroad.
Yes. So Shekher is mentioning Indian freedom fighters and an ex-prime minister, and what they had in common was that they had all studied abroad, and these are figures Indians look up to. Yes.
Yeah, and it gives you new perspective. For example, the father of the Indian Constitution, Ambedkar, he studied at Columbia.
Yes.
What happens when you stay abroad? I can compare it with meditation because you are cut off from your usual surroundings. You know that no one is judging you,
Yeah.
and you can be your pure self
Yeah.
because you are ready to learn, you are ready to unlearn.
Yeah.
And I always encourage people that take out time and go for training, even if it is like 1 month, do it
Yeah. Very well
because
said.
you will come back as a new person.
Yeah. I think that rings true with my own experience, where living in the countryside in Denmark, on my initial days, I actually lived there for 4 5 years in a Danish countryside. And I came from the hustle and bustle of a big city like Delhi. And I truly found that contrast meditative. Nobody knew me, so the anonymity and the being invisible really helps in just because you're not surrounded by judgment. Nobody's deciding for you, nobody's commenting on what choices you make, so you actually live to a certain extent in this monk-like life where you have so much time to reflect. And Danish countryside was so peaceful. It was truly healing for me to be in that space and far removed from the everyday life that one knows of. So I think that's a beautiful perspective that you bring on board. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that you have also spent so much time in Hungary, what is your perspective about life in Hungary? And how is that different from your other experiences or life in India?
I never thought that I will travel Hungary. So it happened by chance in 2016.
Yeah.
I was working and I did a Google search and I came across a conference which was discussing Brexit.
Right.
So 2016 was also the year when UK was getting out of Euro,
Yeah.
of EU. And I said, let me go for it, although it was not something which interested me too much, although I'm interested in almost everything. So I went for it.
Man with diverse interests.
And when I came to Hungary, I traveled through Austria. And from Austria, when I was entering Hungary on a train, I looked outside. It was the month of June.
Yeah.
So I could see fields with wheat. And I could imagine that. I mean, I imagine a lot scenes from the Second World War that armies are marching through these fields.
Yeah.
And
you have a fertile and vivid imagination.
And 16 was also the year because the year before that Syrian refugee crisis happened.
Indeed, yes.
And I was producing a lot of stories that how Syrians entered Europe through Hungary. And then many of them had to sleep at, there was no place for even people to sleep at train station in Budapest.
Right.
So I had some understanding about Hungary, and I went there and I found the country was very beautiful, first thing. Second, I found that it is very affordable.
Right.
Because buying pizza was very easy. I mean, I will not say easy, it was cheap. Buying beer was cheap. Okay. And I thought, coming from Delhi, that I should stay here for some years. I never thought that I should stay here permanently. And then I applied for this scholarship, for this fellowship, and I got it. This is how my journey started. But till 2016, till I went to Hungary, I never thought about going to Hungary.
Yes. So it happened quite by chance.
Yes.
Just the way, when I came to Denmark, I did not plan it. It's not something that you think about very much, but it happened quite incidentally, and I've loved it.
Yeah, in India, we mainly think about US, UK.
Yes. And those are popular destinations for any aspirant who wants to study or work abroad. Right. Based on all your experiences, your insight of traveling yourself, seeking opportunities yourself, plus now you're in the position of guiding and mentoring and advising people as a visa and study consultant focusing on Europe. What would be your 3 pieces of advice for someone who is young and nurtures a similar dream?
I would say it is not necessary to go abroad.
Okay.
Okay. Just don't go because your neighbor is going
Yeah.
or your aunt is telling you.
Yeah.
Think, do you really want to go? And even if you decide to go, do some homework. So clarity of purpose is very important.
Right.
Second, do financial planning also. Because I have seen instances where people do not do financial planning and it can be a disaster. You'll have to leave your studies halfway.
Yeah.
Or you will realize in the mid that it is not the right decision financially. And then also, if you are coming to Europe for work, and especially your goal is money, then I would say try looking for opportunities within India if you're from India, or if you're from other country, try looking at opportunities in your vicinity. If your goal is mainly money, because a lot of software professionals approach me who have been offered a job in Budapest. Sometimes the kind of money which they are getting in India is similar to which they will get in Budapest.
Okay.
So I advise them, if your goal is just money, then don't come. But please also understand that there are certain advantages. You will be working with people from 20 countries, which is not possible most of the times in India.
So they will get the kind of exposure going,
and then,
which they won't get otherwise.
And then they will get a new perspective about life, new ideas.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it is all about, all the businesses are about ideas.
Yeah.
And it is all about perspective.
Yeah. Right. Great. So have clarity of purpose, make a solid financial plan as to how you're going to navigate this. And what was the third?
First of, before going abroad, if your goal is going just for financial reason, look for opportunities within your vicinity.
Right. Exactly. So, having said that, if somebody wants to study abroad, and most people are wanting to study abroad, why should anybody study abroad? Exposure is something that comes to mind, obviously, because, one learns from other cultures and by engaging with people from different countries. I think that was the biggest draw for me to want to study abroad, because I really wanted to see the world myself and also from someone else's perspective. But through your own experiences, why do you think why would you recommend studying abroad?
One, it gives you new perspective. As I told you some time ago, that some of these biggest leaders of all time in India, they studied abroad.
Yeah.
And if we look at recent times, the former Prime Minister of UK, Rishi Sunak, he also studied for some time in US.
Yes.
So what happens when you go abroad for study, you start looking at things in a new way.
Yes.
You develop an international network, and then you look at opportunities in a global way. And you build a network. I think networks are very important.
Yeah. And why do you think that, while there is this outflow of people and people are emigrating out of India, for instance, there is also increasingly a trend of people wanting to come back. Why do you think that is happening?
I was reading an article based on data of Ministry of External Affairs. 10,75,000 people have surrendered their passport in last 10 years.
Okay.
Which is not a very big number.
As in they have given up their Indian citizenship, right?
Because India does not allow dual citizenship. So if you take American citizenship, then you give up your Indian citizenship. The highest number of people who surrendered their passports took American citizenship. Then number 2 was Canada.
Right.
I do not have the complete stats, but 2 European countries which were there was Italy, and I believe Germany also.
Right.
So it is not a big number. I think majority of people in India are still happy living in India.
Right.
Since I am in this business, or many people who are in this business, they feel that everyone wants to leave. No, that's not true.
No, but a lot of people are choosing also to come back. So, not everybody wants to leave. B, a lot of people who have left are still choosing to come back. And maybe that is something I should explore in my forthcoming podcast episodes. This has been an insightful conversation, Shekhar, because you have switched gears from being an aspirant to helping other aspirants, guiding and mentoring them. You are also running a YouTube channel. It is called
Chandra Shekher, visa and education consultant. And if you
Yes.
want, you can put the link of my
Sure,
channel.
I think some people might be interested in seeing your work and connecting with you. So, of course, you will find the link in the description. Thank you for making time for this conversation and visiting me here in Copenhagen. It's been an absolute pleasure reconnecting.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me on this podcast. I
Yes.
wish you all the best with your new YouTube channel. Thank you. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you. And till such time we meet again with the next episode, do take care of yourself. Merry Christmas and see you soon. Bye-bye.